I'm Therese Apel. In my career, I've covered crime, courts, and the people who answer the call when everything's on the line. With my co-host Amanda Johansson and Sara Perkins-Ricks, we talk to those who carry the weight of the front lines long after the sirens go quiet, and we tell their stories, some for the first time. Welcome to Investigation Homicide. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Investigation Homicide. Thank you for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. We're excited about this one. We are sponsored by ADSI. They do all kinds of great stuff. Their owner, Mike Perkins, does a lot of great stuff for law enforcement, but also they do software for dispatch for law enforcement, making sure that you are safe on the calls that you go on. So if you are a client of ADSI, then thank them for us. We're going to hear from them right now.
I am currently owner CEO of ADSI. I've got a whole bunch of guys that are a whole lot smarter than I am, and what they do is they develop software for police departments and dispatchers, and that's what we do. And our why is Deputy William Durr. And William Durr gave his life to protect others. And so what we try to do is make sure that if I can provide some level of officer safety, that's all that matters to us.
Thanks again to ADSI for making this possible. Tonight I've got Sara with me. Sara, thanks for being here.
Of course. I'm so excited for this one.
Yeah, this is a good one.
Yeah.
So before we get started, do you have a happy story for us?
I do not have a happy story, but I have news that we have a new addition in the police department.
Oh, good.
Yes, it's a portrait of one of our most famous officers. You might know him as previous Constable Brad Harbor.
That's right.
Yeah.
Tell that story.
Can't tell the story, but we have he's got a nice portrait now, and it's hanging up in the chief's office. So hopefully we'll be able to post it later once I get a good picture of it.
And if you know Brad, you probably ought to ask him about it.
Definitely ask Brad about his new picture because he's so very proud of it.
Absolutely. So that's at Ridgeland PD for anyone that's a friend of Brad's. So tonight our story is it's more than several years old now.
It's old.
We're talking about 2 decades, 3 decades now. And it's one that you've probably heard of. I'm going to tell the story of how I heard of it. I was in college, so I heard it through the news. But when I first went to the Clarion Ledger, my title, the job title of the job that I took was Clarion Ledger Cops Reporter. So my second day at work, I Google Clarion Ledger Cops Reporter, and I find this article. And first it starts off talking about the Murder Club, which is what the JPD detectives and some of the crime reporters at the Clarion Ledger allegedly called themselves. And they would go to lunch together or have coffee, and they would talk about cases and, bounce it back and forth, which really probably wouldn't happen much today. So I was really fascinated by that. And then this story goes on into this case we're going to talk about tonight. And I don't know if I should tell the whole story because there's a spoiler in it, but the Clarion Ledger Cops reporter at the time played a big part in the story, and we'll get to that. But tonight our guest is Charlie Smith. You know him, you love him like we do. He's one of our regulars, and we're grateful to have him here. Charlie, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
So obviously you've got a million great stories, and we've heard a lot of them. This is one that we've kind of saved, and now it's just time to tell it.
Yeah, we kind of touched on it last time.
Yeah.
And this actually occurred April 12th, 1996.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of ironic because do y'all know what the significance of April 12th is?
It's a Hitler holiday, isn't it?
It's the day the South fired on Fort Sumter.
Oh, okay.
So I've always wondered if there was some connection. Well, it started out, we really don't understand it, but we had officers that were at the Pizza Hut. This was at the Po Folks restaurant, which used to be on Ellis Avenue, about maybe a quarter mile south of I-20.
Yeah.
Now the restaurant was not abandoned; it was out of commission, and there were crews that were doing some going to remodel it. And this gentleman, who I will not name because I don't want to, give him any credit. He built up a fortress inside the restaurant and started shooting. And he was peppering everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I was not on duty that day, and I got the call as a SWAT team member, not as a crime scene guy. And my pager went off. I had been out in the yard working. Pager went off. And my regular pager had been broken, and I was using a backup pager that didn't have any information. It just made a noise. So I tried to call dispatch to see what was going on, and I called administrative line, and I got the operator said all circuits are busy, which I thought was kind of weird. So I called another administrative line, and it said all circuits are busy. So I called 911. I got all circuits are busy. And I said, well, this something has hit the fan.
This is not good. Yeah.
I grabbed my SWAT gear and run out to the truck that I was driving. And I got on the SWAT channel radio, and I hear our SWAT lieutenant calling for any SWAT units. And I could hear intense gunfire in the background. I keyed up, and I tried to answer him. He answered me back, but I couldn't hear him for the gunfire because he was on the scene.
Right.
And I finally told him, I said, Lieutenant, I said, you're going to have to stop firing because I can't hear what you're saying. He said, that's not me, God damn it. That's the reason I need y'all out here.
Yeah.
And he said, we kept our trucks at the pistol range. And he said, get to the tank, which was our armored truck. And he said, get there, try to get 6 guys rallied up and get on up here.
Yeah.
And so I didn't live far from the pistol range, only maybe 2 or 3 minutes. So I flew down there and got the tank. There was a couple of other guys there. As soon as we got 6 guys, we took off. And the weird thing is, as soon as we left the gate of the pistol range, I realized the armored truck, the brakes had gone out. And luckily I had a partner on the front seat with me, Preston Carter, and the truck had a transmission brake on it. I told him, I said, look, anytime you watch me, you see me hit the clutch, you start breaking down. And they called us and said, you can't use it. We've got the interstate shut down, so we had to go surface streets. So we finally worked our way up. Traffic was crazy. And as soon as we got up there, it was absolute chaos. And the guy was just steadily firing. We had officers pinned down all over. They were trying to evacuate people from MEA across the street from Po Folks. We had police officers pinned down at the Pizza Hut next door to Po Folks. The guy was peppering everything.
At this point, what do you know about him? Or do you just
Zero.
know there's a crazy guy in there with guns?
All we know is we got shots coming from Po Folks. We have no idea what's going on, how many people we are up against. So our lieutenant, the SWAT lieutenant, told us, he said, we knew we had one guy down. It was in the parking lot of the Po Folks. He said, we think he's dead, but go get him. And he said, get any of the officers pinned down, get them out of the line of fire.
When you say one guy, you're talking about a police officer?
No, a civilian by the name of D.K. Holyfield.
Okay.
It's a black guy. He just pulled in the parking lot because he was having car trouble, and he got whacked.
Yeah.
So I drove the armored truck. I had a team with me, and we pulled up in the parking lot, and it took a while to get him because he's a big guy. And it was obvious that he was deceased, but we got him out, and then we swung around and picked up some of the officers that were pinned down. And he didn't pepper us. I mean, I saw he actually walked in front of the window, and I had my M16 in my lap, and I tried to get a shot off, but I couldn't get it up to the gun portal quick enough. And we got everybody out of there we could. And during this mayhem, of course, we had everything shut down. Well, other units had everything shut down for about a 2-mile radius of the place. It was bad, and we were terribly outgunned. Pam Berry, who is a reporter for the Clarion Ledger, she was the police beat reporter. She and Jay Hughes were the police beat guys, great guys. She was actually across I-20 at the Old Green Derby on a payphone, calling it in to Jay Hughes, and she got hit in the neck.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it at the time. I mean, I had no idea what was going on outside. Well, the building caught on fire, thank God.
Well, can we pause here and let me tell my part of the story on that, because that's the thing I found. I read this story about this massive standoff, enormous thing, and then it says, across the interstate, which I could tell from the description it was a long way away, but I couldn't exactly tell how far away it was, which it was a long way. But it said the Clarion Ledger cops reporter, Pam Berry, got shot in the neck. And then, of course, it leads to the fact that we find out this guy's a little bit of a racist, not a little bit, a lot of a racist. And was that why? I mean, there was so many questions at
I
the
don't
time.
know. It was 700. I did a line of sight reconstruction on that,
Mhm.
and it was 761 yards.
Wow. Yeah, that's.
And he had no optics on any of his weapons. And plus, you couldn't really see where she was.
Mhm.
And the bullet went in her neck from a downward trajectory. So it's kind of our belief that she caught an arching round and it came down. Well, we don't know.
Right.
But she's lucky.
Definitely.
She is so lucky. And we love Pam to death. She was just
Mhm.
one of us. She and Jay were one of us. And of course, Jay was freaking out,
Yeah.
And we tried to make an entry, and but we decided, no, this is not. And this is the only SWAT call I was ever on where I was concerned that we were going to lose a guy, because I knew we were outgunned. The situation was out of control, and luckily the building caught on fire.
Well, and at this point, when you say you were worried about your SWAT team, you knew you were outgunned.
Yeah.
What did you guys know? Was it just there's so much artillery coming at us,
Yeah.
or was it what was going on
There's
there?
just so much. It was so much rounds. I may be wrong, but I don't think he really wanted to kill police officers, because he had the opportunity. He could have killed a dozen.
Yeah.
And either he was a really bad shot, because there were two pinned down behind their car right in front of the restaurant. Juan Cloy, which is great cop,
Yeah.
and they were pinned down. And he was on the radio telling everybody, say, "Hey man, this guy's he's got us. He's got us. Just stay behind your wheel well on your car, because we're outgunned."
Yeah.
And we got Juan and his partner out of the way. I believe Juan had a rookie with him. He was an FTO, and got them. And like I said, the building caught on fire. And my SWAT commander just said, screw it. He'll either come to us, we'll take him down in the parking lot, or we'll let the bastard burn to death.
Yeah.
And the fire pretty much engulfed the building. And as the fire got pretty intense, I heard him do himself.
Yeah.
And I looked at my lieutenant, and I said, he just shot himself. He said, how do you know? I said, ironically, I've heard that sound before. I know what it sounds like when
Yeah.
somebody puts a gun to their head and pulls the trigger. And we had a fire. Of course, he was shooting. I later confirmed that he fired at least 1,000 rounds.
Right.
Wow.
And there was another 1,500 that cooked off in the fire. And we had a fire chief. We wasn't letting anybody near the building. We had a fire chief come up. He was raising hell because we wouldn't let the fire department in and put out the fire. And by that time, about 500 rounds cooked off at one time.
Right.
And I said, you want to go in there? He said, no, we'll wait.
Well, it's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're good. We're good. Just call us when you need us.
Yeah. And Daniel,
You-
would you mind putting up that overhead view there of the restaurant?
You don't know if he's got explosives in there
didn't know.
or what.
We didn't know. We were satisfied. I had made contact with the governor's office through channels,
Yeah.
and they were getting us an armored personnel carrier brought up from Camp Shelby. We didn't know how long this was going to go,
Sure.
and luckily we didn't need it. And the fire got so intense, and finally when the roof collapsed, and we didn't hear rounds cook off for about, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. That's when we let the fire department come on in and douse it.
Yeah. Knock down the hot spots and all that.
Yeah, and then we let it cool down for a while, and we went in there and confirmed he was dead, and drug his sorry ass out, threw him in a body bag,
Yeah.
and we found his truck back behind the building. We were assuming it was his truck. It was the only other vehicle on the lot. We ran the tag, found out who it was. It took the bomb squad about 2 hours to get into the truck. We wasn't taking any chances. And the guy was nuts. And so then we, after all that was done, did a search warrant on his house. He lived in South Jackson.
Before we get into that,
Yeah.
how did do y'all know how the fire started? Was it him
Yeah.
that started it, or was
Well,
it all the rounds
We
going
later
in?
found out that there had been a crew in there, and they were using some solvents to remove wallpaper. And he was shooting some tracer rounds
Okay.
at us. And this is what I found out during the investigation of the scene itself. He had, I want to say we had 18 rifles we recovered from the scene. AK-47s and AR-15s. All of them had been illegally converted to full automatic.
Daniel, can you put those guns up there for us?
And he had them positioned at different windows in the place. And what he would do is he would go and he would fire a magazine, and then he'd go to the next gun, and he would rotate them so he wasn't cooking off a barrel.
Yeah.
And we theorized that either the tracers or just the sheer firepower that he was lobbing at us set the place on fire.
Wow.
I was Dave and them were teaching me some stuff about arson work because and the field of crime scene work. I was working a lot of fire deaths and stuff like that. So, and Dave and Vernon Hughes I work with them because it's really their crime scene
Mm-hmm.
because they were fire marshals. Any homicide involving a fire is their case, and we sifted through every inch of that building for 3 days, recovering. We identified rounds that had cooked off, rounds that had been fired, and he also had all the windows and the doors barricaded. He had one door that he did not have barricaded, and he had pulled some coolers, like chest freezers you would see. He had pulled those up and made what we call a fatal funnel. And if we'd have gone in that door, he had us because he had his last stand at the end of that funnel. He had a shotgun, a pistol. If I remember correctly, he had an AR-15 and a knife. He also had a gas mask, and he had MREs in there.
So
He
was
was
he
ready for it.
prior military or prior law enforcement?
Pardon me?
Was he prior military?
Not to
or-
my knowledge. He was just a
Really?
nut. And
Huh.
so he would have, if we'd have made entry, we'd have probably lost 2 guys at least before we could have grouped, you know. But luckily he burned. He did himself. Or like I said, I was perfectly satisfied with him being a crispy critter.
Right.
When
And,
did you find out who he was?
We ran his tag, and
And that was how
that
you.
wound up being him.
Yeah.
And we didn't have any positive ID. And I think the detectives tracked down where he lived and talked to his neighbors. They described, I mean, he was a really crispy critter that you couldn't make an identification on him other than dental records. And when we did the search warrant on the house, of course, that wasn't a SWAT call. So we did send some team members down there just in case, but they just did the search warrant, and we seized thousands of rounds of ammunition, which is nothing wrong with that. Buku rifles, shotguns of all kinds, a lot of white nationalist propaganda, Nazi flag. Recovered a copy of Mein Kampf and the Turner Diaries. And I had read Mein Kampf before when I was in high school, and I read the Turner Diaries that he had. Crazy people.
And to be clear, what we're looking at there, those are the guns and some of the paraphernalia that you guys found in his home.
We seized them. We didn't really have a reason to seize them other than the fact that he had been involved in that crime, but we just wanted to get them to headquarters, and we had some ATF guys came in and checking all the weapons for see if there was any wants on the weapons, and had been illegally converted. Actually, we turned everything back into the family. I had a little showdown with one of the deputy chiefs. He came up because I was always the guy for the SWAT team getting all of our stuff.
Yeah.
And he said, well, go down there and pick out anything y'all want for the SWAT team. And I said, we can't do that. I said, that's not ours.
Right.
I said, none of the stuff's been involved in a crime. I said, this is his family's stuff. I said, we can't seize any of this unless it's illegal. And nothing was illegal, nothing had been altered, or no serial numbers had been altered. And so, they about 3 days later, they had to release everything to his family.
Did he write like a manifesto or anything?
He did have a manifesto,
Yeah.
and I will not go over what it is, but I tell you what, he hated everybody. And of course, if you ever read the Turner Diaries, which I recommend anybody in law enforcement, especially today, should read the Turner Diaries, because it evolves around this crazy notion that I'll have to think for a minute. Or it's called the organization. They take over the United States government, and they expel all non-whites and Jews from America. And these white nationalists, they believe in that crap. They hate everybody. And like I said, anybody in law enforcement should read the Turner Diaries. And that's the first time I had ever read it. And I didn't know. And of course, we covered. He had the Turner Diaries, he had Mein Kampf, and he had a Bible, all right there, nice and neat together. So he fit the bill. And I was trying to think of something else that stood out that we seized out of the house.
Well, how long did it take y'all to kind of, I mean, obviously now you can get on somebody's Facebook page, or you can look them up online, or that
Yeah.
kind of thing, and you might get a little more of an idea of who they are. How long did it take? I mean, was it kind of, you could just go into his house and see who this guy is, and then you've got those other written pieces?
Yeah, he had instructions on what to do with his body and stuff like that. He had, like I said, he had, I wouldn't say a manifesto. People call it a manifesto. He had about two sheets of what he was doing while he was doing it.
Well, I know you said you can't tell us a lot about that, but I mean, was he just had planned to have a bad day, or was it there were reason? Or?
He knew he wasn't coming back, though.
He knew he
right?
wasn't coming back.
Yeah.
And he had been planning this for a long time. Witnesses said they had been seeing this truck. Now, this was September the 12th, and witnesses said they started seeing this truck there 3 or 4 days before. They just thought he was probably the construction crew because they saw him moving boxes in there. And what he was moving was boxes of ammunition and guns and stuff like that. And he had a plan. He definitely had a plan.
So, moral of the story is, if you see somebody carrying boxes into a restaurant and he doesn't belong there, and neither do the boxes,
Yeah.
you ought to call
Kind of
somebody.
like, the hotel in Las Vegas. If you see a guy with, wheelbarrow loads of gun boxes, you might want to kind of...
Yeah.
But-
See something, say something.
It's not the time to mind your own business.
Right.
Yeah, he, like I said, I still say, though, that he could have killed more, especially police officers, because we were all exposed. And he could have wiped us out, pretty much. But for some reason, I don't think he was out to kill cops.
Yeah.
And
Now, was he specifically targeting black people, or was he just shooting at everybody?
he was shooting at anything. He
Yeah.
peppered the AMR across the street up. He hit it about 200 or 300 times.
That's crazy.
Luckily, it was a brick wall,
Yeah.
and there was some civilian that was trying to get people out of there, and we basically told him, they need to stay in there because they're behind the brick wall. They're safe,
Yeah.
than being out in the open.
So it was only one innocent person,
One,
that died?
Only one fatality.
Really?
There were several injuries at the Pizza Hut, and most of that was from fragments and glass.
Mhm.
Yeah, he peppered that Pizza Hut up pretty good.
Now, is this the one where there were officers actually eating at the Pizza Hut
They
when
were
it
sitting there
started?
eating. Yeah, they were
That
sitting there eating.
I have heard. Okay,
Yeah, they were just in there eating.
just minding their own business, and then it started.
All of a sudden, the windows started shattering, and ironically, one of the officers in there, his dad was a JPD and was killed in line of duty. So
Wow.
they got everybody secured, and then I'll have to say this about the old JPD back there. It was handled, as far as we were concerned, it was handled well because the right people were in command. I mean, my SWAT commander, of course, in a situation like that, the SWAT commander is in command. He's the boss. He outweighs everybody. And Lieutenant Johnson is the kind of guy that can do it. and he had it under control. That was probably the most uncalm I've seen him, and basically he was a little bit more boisterous than I am right now.
Mhm.
But when you work with somebody, you know their voice to somebody
Yeah,
that
he-
doesn't work with them is
Yeah.
completely calm and normal, but you
Yeah.
can hear that
Yeah.
in their voice.
Yeah, when he told me, "That's not me, God damn it, that's the reason I need you," I said, we're not supposed to say that on radio.
Right.
So this is bad.
Well,
And
and
you
Chuck-
get there and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I got it.
Yeah, I get this now. I understand.
Right. Well, and that's what I was going to ask. You know, I've got to do it. So you're sitting here, you're in a situation where you can't hear the SWAT commander because of all the gunshots. He tells you to go to the range and get the truck.
Yeah.
You're in a hurry. You get there and you see how bad it is. What does that feel like?
Well, we were there as the team, as the SWAT team,
Yeah.
and we had a great SWAT team. I'll say that. We were squared away. We were good. We were damn good. And there's no panic. You know, it's just, okay, yeah, let's do it. I mean, we're all there. Every one of us is an adrenaline junkie.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says. Anybody who goes on SWAT, they're in it for the action. And that was our forte. We didn't do stupid stuff. You know, in all my years on the SWAT team, we never had an officer even get hurt because we were that good.
Yeah.
We would hurt you in a heartbeat, but we were good, and we were all good shooters. Everybody on our team was excellent shooters, and we had sound tactics. We knew, you know, when to back off, when you know, and we didn't never panic. Yeah, you can listen to any of our radio traffic as a team, and you'll never hear anybody excited, yelling or screaming. It's always calm.
Yeah.
And all that. So I knew we were all in good hands with each other. And, you know, the patrol division had set up a perimeter, and most of the patrol officers that were there, they said, "Look, y'all go. We're good. We're good."
Yeah.
And we had a couple patrolmen ask, you know, y'all need any help? And by the time we got situated there at the scene, we had probably 8 to 12 of our guys, and we had it under control. We had it as good as it could control as we had. And Chief Johnson was there. And I never forget, Chief Johnson asked me, he said, "Charlie, what would you guys have done if this building hadn't caught on fire?" I said, "We'd be waiting for that armored truck to come up from Camp Shelby."
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Because he's got us."
Yeah.
And
Well, and at that point, I guess, you'd be waiting on the armored truck, but hoping that he runs out of ammo before,
yeah,
but you don't know what he's got in there.
that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
When what I recovered from inside the building, he wasn't going to run out of. We would have run out of ammo
Wow.
before him. He had probably 5,000 rounds in the building.
Yeah.
In magazines, loose, in boxes and stuff like that. Most of it got cooked off, and like I said, he fired at right about 1,000 rounds. Because it's easy to decide in the fire case what's been actually fired from a rifle and what cooks off. Because when it cooks off, it explodes,
Yeah.
and we had a bunch of those. But we were able to count how many magazines he had. Dave and I and Vernon, I mean, it was painstaking. And I've always had a huge respect for firefighters, but arson guys. And of course, sadly, just a few weeks after that, Dave Barry was squared off in a shootout at Central Fire Station. And Dave is as good a guy as ever walked this earth. And
we have a picture of Dave Barry there on the
Yeah.
scene, as a matter of fact, that you brought.
that's my man.
And that's a gun he found in the.
That's just a gun he found. This is the what we call his last stand. He had that cooler set up,
Yeah.
and he was behind. He would have been behind that. That's where we found the body. Basically, where Dave is standing is where we found the body. And we were just finding stuff a lot of the stuff, debris, we had already moved out of the building to go through. You know, we had a sifter out in the parking lot, and we was going through everything. And like I said, just a few weeks after that, we had the firehouse shooting.
Yeah, that's what
Oh,
I was
yeah.
going to say. We talked about Dave the other
Yeah.
day, as a matter of
Yeah.
fact, last time you were here.
Yeah, and after everything settled down, and a local church in South Jackson had a like a thank you celebration for all the first responders that went, which is pretty neat. But I'm very apprehensive of going to being around these kind of things, because it's like I told somebody, I said, every time we celebrate something, there's something bigger around the corner.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in that church, and I was just going, I said, I just don't want to be here. This is a bad omen. And like I said, just a few days later, we had the firehouse shooting.
Yeah.
And
they say first responders are superstitious, and often there's a reason. And it's
yeah, I
just
don't like to be happy.
Yeah.
I don't,
And things come in threes.
yeah, I don't trust happy at all in that world, because I see guys high five and all that. We never, even on the SWAT team, we'd go in and we'd do our job and we got out. And we would debrief, but there was never we got that mother, we put in that. There was none of that macho crap.
Right.
We got back in the truck, we went back, and, we had a debriefing. We'd always have a debriefing the next day. And that was it. That was the end of it.
Yeah.
And we'd go over what we did wrong, what we could have done better, and stuff like that. But we never high-fived and celebrated. We went, and like I said, our SWAT team, we went through some crap.
Yeah.
And, but thank God, like I said, we never got anybody hurt.
Amen. So let's take a minute and hear from ADSI Public Safety Solutions again, and then we're going to read some of y'all's comments.
I am currently owner CEO of ADSI. I've got a whole bunch of guys that are a whole lot smarter than I am, and what they do is they develop software for police departments and dispatchers, and that's what we do. And our why is Deputy William Durr. And William Durr gave his life to protect others. And so what we try to do is make sure that if I can provide some level of officer safety, that's all that matters to us.
So that's ADSI Public Safety Solutions. Again, thank you to them for making this possible. We have some comments from you guys, and most of them are for Sara. Sara, do you want to handle what you need to there?
I believe they are all for me. Webb, you know the rule. Don't ask for POs after 4.
Yeah, he's saying that he feels obligated to ask for something stupid. So or ask something stupid rather.
Yes.
So that's just how cops work.
Yep. Also, my mother is on there. Hey, Mom.
Daniel was asking earlier, why aren't we connected to Sara's page? Now we definitely are. Sara's got the fan club. So.
Yeah. So that's my coworkers giving me a hard time, per usual.
Awesome. All right. So Charlie, you guys, you've looked at this scene, you've taken apart his house, all that kind of stuff. How long does this investigation I realize he's dead and gone. There's not a trial you have to prepare for or whatever, but how long do you guys continue to look into this?
Weeks just to make it. Still has to go to the grand jury, because it's a homicide. Even though he killed himself, he still got to go to the grand jury, and everything's got to be presented. Plus I got to clarify we didn't kill anybody, and we didn't. As far as the SWAT team, we didn't fire a shot.
Yeah,
and we let him do it. We'd have been more than happy to oblige him, and we'd have killed him graveyard dead if we could have had a chance. If he'd come out in that parking lot,
sure.
He wasn't going to make it.
Sure.
Also, Stephen Webb, who I work with, said that his dad said hello.
Yeah, and Joe, his dad was one of my FTOs.
Well,
when I came
that's
on.
who I have to deal with on a daily basis at work.
We also have a question from Jasper Welch about what was the tank? Where did it come from?
The tank was actually bought during the 60s, during the Civil Rights era. And it was built by a company called J. Tom Moore & Sons in Memphis, Tennessee. It's basically they take a bus, like a school bus, and take it apart, and they build an armor encasement around it. And it was pretty neat. It was old, but it was the best thing we had. And actually, we had taken that thing out of the weeds. It had been abandoned for years, and I got the bright idea. I said, well, it's better than nothing. And I spent about a year restoring it, getting it back up before we could use it on the SWAT team.
Yeah.
And that was the only call we ever used it on. And it was worth every penny of it that day.
Oh, yeah.
But it was built in 1963. And It actually kind of has a unique history. It was used to transport James Earl Ray from the New Orleans airport to Memphis, Tennessee.
Incredible.
Yep.
And Stephen says it was called the Thompson tank,
Yep.
named after one of the mayors.
Alan C. Thompson was the mayor.
Yeah.
And they call a lot of police departments have them. They had them back in the 60s. Even when I was getting this thing back in running condition, I found out there like Miami Metro-Dade had a couple of them. They were still some operational. I mean, they got obviously a lot better stuff nowadays.
Yeah.
And they were better stuff then. We just didn't have the budget for it.
Well, and Francis Springer says that at that time, police was a lot different because you guys were a lot more dedicated to the job than the glory.
And I have something to say on that.
Yeah.
Because they were allowed to be police officers.
Yes.
Our hands are so handcuffed on a lot of stuff. Policies have changed. The world has changed. People were allowed to be police officers and be allowed to be like that.
We were.
Mhm.
Of course, I came on in the 70s. A lot of the other officers, senior officers I worked, they had just got back in Vietnam, so there was pretty much like no fear. And we were hardcore. We really were. And we'd kill you in a heartbeat. We didn't. I see these officers out here taking so much crap. I'm going, man, he would have been on the ground long before. Yeah. And, there's a scene in a movie, Open Range, with Robert Duvall and Kevin Costner. They're in the bar, and Duvall's asking for a drink. Finally, Kevin Costner hits the bartender and said, "He asked you twice. He ain't gonna ask you again." And that's me. I'll ask you twice, but I'm not asking again.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting out here begging these people to drop a gun, drop a knife. I'm gonna drop them. But nowadays, good Lord, man, I see these cops just go. I mean, people don't understand. Police work is violent.
Yeah.
It's like Brad Pitt's character said in Fury: "Ideals are peaceful. History is violent."
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a violent life out there. It always has been. I mean, it was dangerous back in the 70s. I mean, we were losing an officer about every, 16, 18 months. And
well, and I think the thing that's important to say too is that even last week we had Barbara McNeil on to meet the son of Mike Dill, and she was the one that had been a child, and Mike Dill had rescued her as a child, and she became a JPD officer because of him. And last week we had her on to meet Chris, his son. But when we were trying to find who that officer was, there were so many guys from that era whose names came up, and it was like people saying he was a good man, he would have helped, he would have done all this. So the thing is, like, we talk in a world where the public now is all, oh, what you just said was scary and I didn't like it and I'm uncomfortable, so you're a bad person. It's a different kind of world, but you guys had to do what you had to do. In the meantime, you were also good, and I mean, a lot of really good men and women worked at JPD at the time. And so to me, that's an important thing to throw out there too, because the narrative now, and I know because I live in the middle of all you guys, the narrative now is something entirely different than what it used to be. And I'm not sure entirely when it changed, but I do know that we are talking to you about something that happened in April of that year. And 2 months later, or 2 weeks later, rather, you had something else incredibly violent. And we haven't seen anything specifically like either one of those two things since.
No.
So you guys had to be ready for that.
Jackson was it's a small town, but we had big town problems. Everybody talks about the North Hollywood shootout, which it was bad. I mean, I'd love to have been in the middle of that.
Yeah.
But those guys didn't fire near as much as my Po-Folk shooter did. It just didn't get the publicity, and he didn't injure as many people as they did. And it wasn't it wasn't as dramatic looking on TV and all that.
Well, and I think too, as I researched this, one of the things that I saw was somebody saying the reason that it didn't get as much play as you would think in the media was because literally it's almost like the news cycle had hardly turned around before the fire department shootings.
Yeah.
And also it sounds like it was handled and contained. Like it was, the streets were shut down. You had a SWAT commander who knew what he was talking
Oh, yeah.
about. And because the things that get the more news coverage are the things that go bad. Only one fatality, well, and two. But those things, once you get there, you handle it correctly, you shut it down, it doesn't get near as much publicity as the bad stuff. Like the ones that you get it and it's just chaos and people are getting killed and nobody knows what's going on, like Uvalde almost.
Well, that's the reason that Lieutenant Johnson said, give me 6 guys, because we just trained. We were a minimalist SWAT team. We did the most with the least. Like the Marine Corps said, we've done so much with so little for so long, we can do anything with nothing. And that's how we trained. And like I said, we were, no brag, just fact, we were good. We were just damn good.
Well, and there's a question that I think is relevant here. It's Jordan, actually, with today's politics and society being what it is. If it were like this back then, would you do it all over again with the politics the way they are today?
Probably. I mean, I was born for this.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew since I was 9 years old, this is what I was going to do. And like I told you before, I mean, I grew up across the street from the chief of detective, Chief of D's, Captain Bill Watson, and I used to sit in his patrol car when he'd come on for lunch and listen to the radio. I said, yeah. And then, of course, Adam 12 came on. I said, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And I was just born for it. I had no desire to do anything else. My dad wanted me to be a lawyer. He said, anybody that can argue as good as you should be a lawyer. I said, no, Dad. And I had great parents. They were very supportive. They wasn't, oh, you need to do this, you need to do And I go back to my parents a lot. It's like I said, they were disabled. They were blind. They didn't get to do what they wanted to do. They just didn't.
Yeah.
And I said, this is what I want to do. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Now, had my parents not been disabled, I probably would have gone somewhere like Florida. I mean, I wanted the action.
Yeah.
The more action, the better. And Florida is a really squared away state for law enforcement.
Sure.
And but things as they were, I stayed here. I had great TOs when I came up on the department. People like Joe Webb, Rod Erickson, and Eddie Barthel, some of the others. And I had some shitty supervisors. I had some great supervisors. Lieutenant Johnson, I'd follow that man. Lieutenant Johnson is the kind of guy that would follow you off a cliff. And he'd push you over the side and say, I'm going to go first. You follow me. We'd follow that man anywhere, any door, anytime. He was squared away. He was good. We always had good leaders on the SWAT team. So, and Lieutenant Johnson, he didn't put up with no crap either. He's good. He's good.
So if that situation that you guys faced at Po Folks was to happen today, I guess looking at it from the perspective of time, looking at it from the perspective of expertise, of experience, do you feel like, and I'm not talking about JPD specifically, I'm not trying to target anyone, but do you feel like law enforcement now, sure, the firepower is different, the technology is different.
Yeah.
What do you think would go different?
I don't really think anything would have gone. Now some departments have better armored equipment and stuff like that, but I go back to the shootout that in Crossgates.
Yeah.
That's right around the corner from my house when that went down, and that was a complete Charlie Foxtrot.
Yeah.
Nobody was in command or control of that. And the first thing I thought, boy, if Lieutenant Johnson would have seen this, he would have stroked out. And they had the armored and all that, and they still screwed it. And I don't know. We couldn't have really made an entry because of the fire.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, nowadays you'd have people out here bitching and belly aching that we didn't go in there and give the guy first aid. Well, I'm gonna tell you what. If I shoot you, I see these officers out here on these YouTube and all that Instagram and crap. They pop somebody, and the first thing they started giving, I ain't giving nobody first aid. Ain't happening. If I shoot you, I'll call the ambulance. Mm-hmm. But I ain't giving you no first aid. I ain't playing that game.
Yeah.
And I don't care.
The world's definitely changed from, over the last several decades because there are, new laws in place, new things like that. And like Francis said, back then they didn't get arrested. Y'all didn't get arrested for doing your job, which we've seen that happen in Jackson a few times in the last decade or so. Of course, I mean, I think obviously the things we're saying are things that some people would definitely argue against, but it is worth pointing out that the world was a different place when the laws were not pushing against the protectors. And the other thing I'm going to point out is right now what I'm hearing, and I don't think a lot of journalists watch this. I would challenge you, if you're a journalist, to let me know that you watch this, because I don't think my people care to hear these stories. And I
No.
could be wrong. I want to know if I'm wrong. But the thing is, any of these events that we've talked about on here, next thing that happens, Sarah, I'm going to do it. Y'all are going to carpet bomb the department with public records requests. And what I'm hearing, and I mean, I put those in too, but what I'm hearing from a lot of agencies right now is that they don't even have the manpower to fill out all the things, that do all the research, pull all the records that you guys are asking for, that we're asking for, to try and find, in many cases, what police did wrong in any given situation. And if we can't find that, then we're asking for text messages, or we're asking for emails, or we're asking for CAD reports or whatever like that. And, I mean, sure, there's a need for that. I'm not saying don't do that in situations where you need to, but right now it's happening on every major event that these things happen. And it's becoming an issue for some of these departments when it comes to manpower and staffing. And then we come back and we file ethics complaints because you didn't do it fast enough. So I just want to throw that out there, because like I said, I don't think my people watch this podcast. I don't think they care. I don't think they want to listen. I would love it if they did. So please tell me that I'm wrong. But there are major issues that are caused by us needing so much right after an event like this. Yeah. Imagine if that had been something that everyone felt like they needed to do at that time. It would have slowed down the investigation a ton.
Well, Pam and Jay, they used to come out and do ride-alongs with us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there were a lot of, they knew their boundaries. We knew our boundaries. I've had a couple of dust-ups with a couple of reporters that didn't know. And, I had one reporter, we were working a big murder down on Ferry Street. And she was with a local TV station. And we realized that we actually had a secondary crime scene. So we expanded the crime scene. Well, she got all bent out of shape. Mm-hmm. And because she thought we were pushing her away from something she should see. I said, no. I said, we just have another crime scene. We got to get everybody back. And she mouthed off, and she said, well, the public has a right to know. I said, actually, they don't. I said, what makes you think that? She said, it's in the Constitution. I said, hold that thought. I walked to my car, and I have a copy of the Constitution that I have carried since the day I came out of the cabin. I said, here.
Classic.
I said, you find that in the Constitution, and you can walk anywhere you want to down here.
You hold on to this while I handle this crime scene.
Right.
That don't.
I'll
be
back.
That right don't exist.
Right.
And she actually called the station manager. He came down there, he bitching and moaning and groaning, and then he tied up with my sergeant, and that was the end of that whole conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, and I think it needs to be said that part of and right now I'm preaching this. So in case you are a journalist, shot in the dark, not even happening. But in case you are a journalist listening to this, I want you to know that one of the things that I'm teaching right now, I'm going to places and talking about how Shepard v. Maxwell is obsolete. So the thing that says that cops can't talk to reporters because it'll taint the jury pool. Well, what's happening is cops are not talking to reporters still. There's this huge wall between us now, and the jury pool is tainted entirely by social media, by, all the different stuff that's out there. So when I say I'm sitting in the very middle of this, I am. Both sides have things to learn. But that what you're talking about, if you're the reporter on the edge of the crime scene, you're almost never going to win that fight.
Yeah. Well, it's just like the night Pam got shot. As soon as things cleared up, we were all headed to the hospital.
Yeah.
You'd thought one of our guys had gone down.
Mm-hmm.
And, but, Pam and Jay and the other guys from the Clarion Ledger, they never really pushed boundaries. They knew this is where it stops and this is where it starts, and we'll work with you, but we can only say so much.
Yeah.
And what few reporters I've had complications with, they came to a battle of wits and they came unarmed.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I'm a strong believer in the good old U.S. Constitution. And that's how I policed, is based on the Constitution and nothing else. Well, I mean, we had our general orders. They were kind of a guideline, of how to behave. I just kind of looked at me. Yeah, well, I had one of my FTOs tell me one time. He said, "Look, this is the way you survive, Charlie." He said, know the rules better than the brass does, and I did. I knew the rules better than the command staff did.
Yeah,
and I knew what I could and could not get away with.
And I think, too, it goes back to the thing that I've said ever since somebody said it to me at my dad's funeral. But in y'all's job and in my job, both, we work for the truth.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you got bosses. Yeah, you got a mayor. Yeah, I've got an editor, whatever like that. But our job is to work for the truth and to have integrity and to do what's right. And as long as you fall within that parameter, you're generally okay.
Yeah.
And a big thing that's changed from policing then to policing now, let's cut mental health, the officers can deal with it. Let's cut funding to our ambulance services, the officers can deal with it. Let's cut funding to CPS, our officers can deal with it. Guess what? You guys are marriage counselors now. Y'all can deal with it. Y'all can start you can start handling civil cases, because they keep cutting and cutting and cutting all these things that are supposed to help people, and then they're like, the cops can handle it. And it's putting so much on police officers. You have a million things to do. And then while you're doing it, you're dealing with people who don't want to talk to you, who are trying to kill you. And you have to sit there and be like, yes, have a wonderful day. What does Chick-fil-A say? What do the Chick-fil-A?
My pleasure.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
And you have to sit there and say, my pleasure. And they can spit in your face, and, their kids can destroy property. And the second that you get even a second upset about it, you're the one on the news. You're the one on the TikTok. You're the one that's going to get indicted because you're such a bad cop. And, we saving drowning kids too. I mean, we're lifeguards too. It's every single thing is just in every year there gets more piled on us.
Well, we didn't make very good marriage counselors when I was on the streets, when I was a beat officer. My partner and I got a call one night. It's funny, but this woman she killed her husband, and he'd been abusing her. He had thrown hot grease on her that day and all that. Well, and she told us, she said, well, I called the police, and the other officers, came here and said, if he comes back in the house, I could shoot him. And the other officer, we were covering his beat because he was out for chow. When he went back 10-8, we called him. Said, look, what'd you tell that lady over on so-and-so street? He said, I told her that, that son of a bitch comes back over there, she ought to kill him. I said, well, she did.
Wow.
He said,
surprise. Yeah. Yeah.
I said, you might want to go talk to her.
Right.
He said, are you serious? I said, he's dead as a doornail.
What happened to her? Do you know?
Not a thing. I mean, because he was going to kill her.
Yeah.
But it's just, that was his, well, if he comes up here again, just
marriage
kill him.
Counseling. Wow.
I was good with that.
But today that cop would be charged with with accessory.
Yeah, no.
Right.
I mean, really.
Well, and I think, too, that's why, again, I speak to the fictional journalists that might be actually listening that I know are not. But if you are, again, please prove me wrong. Please prove me wrong. But, I mean, the fact is, when we're looking for that, I'm every time we have one of these or we speak openly and we're honest about things, part of me is like, well, I can't wait to hear what somebody's going to have to say about this. And we have tons of listeners. I mean, we have thousands of downloads. And you know what? I think most people understand the sound of truth when they hear it. I mean, it's like, this is the world that you guys live in. This is the world as it is. And it's the world that is not shown anymore as for what it is.
That's the reason you have so many churches, because people want to go to a church that tells them what they want to hear.
Yeah.
And people want to be told what they want to hear. They don't want to be told the brutality and the violence that's out here on these streets.
Right.
And I have to admit, when I first got into police work, I didn't realize this is, this is bad.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
It's bad. And, of course, I freely admit we were kind of more loose with, what's the word? Police brutality back in the days.
Sure.
I mean, we'd hurt you. I mean, I had a senior tell me, he said, Charlie, he said, look, he said, there's rules out here. He said, don't steal, don't be down here doing drugs, don't come to work drunk, don't screw your partner's wife or girlfriend or anything like that. And he said, let me tell you something. He said, you get in a fight, he said, you take care of it, and you whoop him until he's had enough, not till you had enough. And I've been in some pretty bad fights out here. I've been in the hospital several times. I put some people in the hospital.
Right.
And I'm not a nice person. My wife would tell you I have two distinct personalities.
Mm-hmm.
And she found that out that night. I got her in the middle of a shootout.
Right.
And
But
and
she
was in the
didn't
car
find
with me.
out because she was the receiving end of it. She
Yeah.
found out because she
Yeah.
saw you
Yeah.
having to do your
Yeah.
job.
And I do have, I'm bipolar, I guess. I have, they're two different personalities. And
Well, I mean, and there's that old saying about, I'll go back to just a few weeks ago. I went to lunch with a reporter friend, and she asked me a ton of questions about y'all's world. And then she said, so we ask these people to do this for us, and then we crucify them for it.
Yeah.
I was like, finally, somebody gets it. And that's, there's a lot of people that don't like it that I feel like that. But it is, there is if we're going to be objective and fair, we need to understand both sides.
I do feel there is a void in the media.
Mhm.
I don't think that most of the media understand what their job is. I don't think they care. I think they want to do gotcha. And no reflection on you or anything. I
Sure.
think the last real reporter Jackson ever had was Bert Case. That guy
Not
was
me.
awesome. Yeah.
I'm still here.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I said, no reflection.
Yeah.
But Bert was old school reporter. And he could be a pain in the butt, but he was good.
Mhm.
And he wasn't into the gotcha and all that. He was just doing the news.
Mhm.
And I mean, he and I have gone back and forth before, but it was nothing. It was never personal. I mean, like I said, I had killed a guy, and I ran into Bert a few days later, and Bert says, "Roy," he said, how you doing? I said, no problem, Bert. It's not my first rodeo. And he said, well, look, he said, I've got it on tape where the brother said that if you hadn't have killed his brother, he was going to kill him. And he said, I got it on tape where the mother said basically the same thing. He said, now, if you need it, he said, well, you have to get a subpoena,
Mhm.
He said, but I got it. And I said, okay, thank you, Bert,
I mean, the thing is,
2 weeks later, Bert and I probably, changed swordplay with each other over something.
well, I mean,
And,
again, it's because all of our jobs are supposed to be about truth. It's
Yeah.
not supposed to be about what I want to tell the world. What I want to tell the world should be truth.
Well, we didn't
So-
have any media that were raising hell about the perimeter at Popo's.
Yeah.
One, they didn't want to get shot.
Mm-mm.
And after Pam got shot,
I was about to say, after one of them gets shot, I'm sure y'all didn't
that's
have
pretty
any.
much it. Hey, look,
It's probably why it wasn't so popular on the news. Nobody wanted to go.
Well, when Chief
Right.
Johnson had a press conference after it was over with, I think they had to go off the out of the scene to get the media to come. Well, we don't want to go up there yet,
Mhm.
But
Well, and that's the thing. What I've found, of course, I've done ride-alongs with JPD, with the U.S. Marshals, with a whole lot of, high adrenaline type situations. And what I find is I, tell all these departments, like, you need to let reporters ride along from time to time.
Yeah.
Let them
Mhm.
see what it is. Let them see a normal day. Let them feel that, like, yikes, we're about to have to, go into this situation where we could get shot. And the thing is, it's not something that you see reporters wanting to do that often. And when they do, they often don't know what they're getting into, and then it's a different thing. But yeah, different world than it was
like I
back in
said,
the
they
day.
They don't make movies about insurance salesmen.
Right. That's true. Or 250,000 cop shows that everybody watches all the time. So, okay, we are out of time. Charlie, final thoughts.
I can't think of anything. I feel like, all my war stories are all old. I feel like I'm Walter
But
Cronkite.
they're important.
If you ever remember Walter Cronkite, he used to have a show that says, it's April 12th, 1861, and you were there. I feel
Right.
like that. And there was just a lot of activity in Jackson back in the day in the 70s and 80s. It was a hotbed, and it was
Yeah.
great. We had a great bunch of guys on the department. I mean, we had some losers, you
Every
know.
department has them.
Yeah, but we had some great guys. I had great partners and stuff like that, and I wouldn't take $1.25 for it. I I love the work.
Yeah. Well, and I'm glad that you're willing to share these stories with us because I think to tell them from a firsthand perspective is so important because I mean there's going to come a time when none of you guys that were there are here anymore and there's a record out there now in your voice, you know.
Yeah, well, I got well, I was lucky because one, doing crime scene, which I did that because I wanted to be in the middle of the big
Yeah.
cases, and the SWAT team, and so I was in the middle of every major dust up in Jackson for like 15 years, and it, I'm glad I did both of them, and it was a rodeo, but uh, it's just something you got to want to do. You know, I have a cousin. I mean, he's a pilot. I think he's been flying since he was like 7. I guess, but he was a Marine Corps fighter pilot. He flew for Delta Airlines. I mean, the guy lives, breathes, and eats flying. That's his deal,
Hmm.
and he was great at it. He's still great at it, and this was my deal.
Yeah.
And
And what a
I
blessing to have a deal.
well, he and
A lot of
I,
people don't, you know.
That's
yeah, we
true.
were coming back. I had gone up to Washington for when he retired from the airlines, and he did the road trip with us coming back, and we stopped at Mount Rushmore, and I really thought it was great. He looked up and he saw this big jet flying over about 30,000 feet. And he said, "You know, I used to work up there," and I looked down at the gutter. And I said, "I used to work there." So it's the difference. I mean, he's just a great guy. I mean, I
Yeah.
can't say enough about him. But uh, that was his forte. I mean, the
Sure.
guy lives and breathes, and his call sign when he was in the Marine Corps was Magic because his last name's Johnson.
Yeah.
And excuse me, but that's just what he did.
Yeah. Sarah, any parting thoughts?
We've talked a lot about the media and how they're bashing cops and everything. Nobody hates a bad cop more than a good cop.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
nobody hates a bad cop more than a good cop. So when we see these stories in the media about things that cops have done, it hits. I know it hits our department. Like, what
Yeah.
in the world? Like, how did you even make it here? Why are you even wearing a badge? So we're all on the same side, the side of truth. But like when bad people are going to do bad things, and they could be teachers, they could be cops, they could be insurance agents. Nobody hates a bad cop more than a good cop.
Yeah,
And there are far more good cops than there are bad cops, but all the people getting the attention are bad cops.
I mean, like I said, I put my own partner in jail one night.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My own partner, and
It all pays the same.
they
It's
they were doing
business.
they had some corrupt cops, and I knew one of them. I hated him, and they had called us all in to the FBI headquarters. We were all supervisors, and I was I was mad. They were sequestering us because they didn't want it to leak out that they were making these arrests.
Mhm.
And I was pissed because I said, "Hey, I want to go put the cuffs on this son of a bitch." I hated him,
Yeah.
and I'm glad he got what he got. I don't think he got enough time. He only got 10 years. I think he should have got life. And they were escorting what they thought were drug dealers through Jackson.
Yeah. Well,
And
and I think it's worth saying that during the Goon Squad coverage, more cops thanked me for writing the stories that I wrote about that than anybody else. There were more cops that thanked me for telling that truth.
yeah, those guys are idiots.
Well, yeah, and I mean, you know, they really put a stain on Mississippi law enforcement, and so for that, I mean, I think there were that needed to be said because I want to make sure the world understands it from our perspective. The people that reached out to me were cops. So, guys, this was a good one. Charlie,
Was.
thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
And thank you guys for watching. Thanks for listening. Thank you to ADSI, Public Safety Software. We appreciate you guys, and we will see you next week.